And now, News Channel 10's 24/7 local weather first alert forecast, sponsored by Generator Supercenter of Amarillo.
Well, good Monday morning, everyone, and a happy first day to spring break for a lot of you out there. Of course, had the craziness of that weekend Saturday night snow. Of course, the time change Sunday. Recapping our reported snowfall totals from the weekend, only about 4 inches here in Amarillo. You can see a handful of reported totals from the rest of the area. Unfortunately, snow totals did come in a little bit lower than we anticipated, but it's not a lack of moisture. We still saw a lot of wintry mix out there, which allowed that snow to melt. Didn't really allow it to accumulate. We were still able to net nearly ½ an inch of moisture out of the system over the weekend, which is extremely good. As a matter of fact, it was so good for us here in Amarillo. We're now actually above average for this time of year on our precip totals. That's certainly some good news, and it'll really be welcome change. Of course, once we get into later this week, I'll explain why in just a little bit. But for today, we're looking at clear skies out there. It's going to be sunny as you head on into your Monday. It's going to be very nice, and we're rebounding right back into that spring-like weather. We're seeing high 30s out there. A handful of places are either down close to or right at that freezing mark, with 32 in Canadian and Tulia here as we're starting out the day. Looking at the rest of your Monday, you're going to see those temperatures start to warm as we head on into the mid-morning period. You've got 64 degrees, so if you've got kiddos at home and they're needing something to do, I think we've got pretty good playing outside weather out there, as we'll see mid-60s by lunchtime. Daytime highs looking to bounce back up into the low 80s, believe it or not. We'll see mid to high 70s at the absolute coolest, low to mid 80s at the absolute warmest. Evening temperatures down in the 60s, so really overall very beautiful temperatures out there. Winds maybe a touch breezy at times. It's going to be one of those kind of typical Texas Panhandle spring days, but at least it keeps our temperatures warm overnight. Shouldn't be freezing as you head on into your Tuesday morning. But talking about those winds, about 5 to 10 miles an hour out there as we start out this morning. We might see them pick up 10 to 15 by the midday hours, and then this afternoon maybe 10 to 20. So like I said, might see those breezes out there, but it's those southwest winds ushering in that warmer and unfortunately drier air, but it does aid in some pretty nice temperatures out there. Those winds do relax as we head on into tonight. Now, our next weather maker is for the better part of the work week. Things are actually pretty boring out there. There's really not that much going on in the forecast, but Friday we are tracking the possibility of a low pressure system that could form up and bring in some extreme winds for the area. So we're going to see this low come in. The general setup right now is a very familiar one. It's the dry line. It's going to push storms off towards the east. You're going to see places like Missouri, Arkansas, maybe under the gun for some severe weather. Snow up in the northern states, your Colorados, your Nebraska, up into the Dakotas, maybe seeing some good snow. But for us, unfortunately, left with warm, dry winds. But of course, this is looking all the way out to Friday, so there's still some details to iron out. So we're not writing this in stone or writing it with ink here just yet. Of course, we still need to see the low pressure form up, because here's the thing. It could just not form up, and then that blows the whole thing wide open. But if it does form up, then we have to see what track it may take, because if it goes further north, the winds won't be quite so bad for us. So that might be what we hope for if that low does indeed form up. Looking at our wind flow map, you're going to be able to spot the center of that low pressure based on current model data right there around the Nebraska and Kansas state line. You're going to see right there strong westerly winds for us. So unfortunately, that could be a pretty blustery day out there, so we're going to watch it closely. And of course, like I said, stay tuned to us here at News Channel 10. We'll be updating you as we get closer. But in the meantime, you can expect those 80s today, 70s here for the rest of the work week. Might be dropping into the 60s as a cold front does accompany that system, drops us into the 60s temporarily. Overnight lows get close to freezing, but in the meantime, we've got lots of sunshine and really just some pretty pleasant conditions here as you head on into this first week post time change.